and welcome to Witch Hat Chats Season 5. Yes, we're on the 5th season. Yes, we are. Come on in and sit for our spell. We're sponsored by Evermoving We Rise, Moonlight, Potions and Charms, and Saul Ravencraft, Wizard for Hire. I am your goddess host, Miss Nikki Kirby, and our co-host, Saul Ravencraft, is somewhere around here. Where are you, Saul? Where are you at?
Here I am, Nikki.
Oh,
Hey, how you doing?
yellow hat. Yeah, where's Curious George at?
Oh, he's by Curious George today. He's off exploring, broadening his horizons.
So it's our 5th season. Awesome. And they say we wouldn't last past 1 year.
That's right.
There.
That's right.
Take that, fuckers.
We're persistent like bacteria.
Yep, we're still going to get you. Yeah. Awesome. You know how I am so excited that we have 5 years. 5 years. And they told me I wouldn't last a year. God, I just loved it. 5 years told me I wouldn't last a year. The best revenge is success. You ever notice that?
Yeah, I've definitely heard that.
And so what are your thoughts for 5 years?
Oh, I don't know. 5 more years?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Awesome. 5 years.
So is there anything that you recall about your first year of doing this that is very different from where you are now with all of this?
Hell yeah, it's much easier.
How so?
Well, I got you.
Fair enough.
So you've made all the difference in the world.
I do try.
Yeah, when you came on with Chat Chats, it took another path. Never look back.
And it's not just us today. In fact, I think I hear someone at the door now.
Hey, Saul, look who's dropped by to see us. It's the weather magic witch, Debra Burris.
Hello, Debra.
Hi, y'all. Glad to be here.
Yeah, the book. She wrote a book. She actually wrote a book. There we go.
Yes, I did. Magically enough, I wrote a book, which I didn't think I was a person who wrote books before I wrote that book, but I guess I'm a person who writes books. So
We'll definitely want to
Awesome.
talk about that.
Yeah. So does everybody want to know what my divination is for today?
Oh, yes.
you bet.
All right, so the divination is from the tea, and today's tea is actually a wishing tea, and this is from the Kitchen Witch Gourmet, and she is absolutely wonderful. I love her. She also wrote a book called Tea Magic, and it's wonderful too. We've had her on the show. So today's divination is: being called weird is like being called a limited edition, meaning something that people don't see that often. So remember that. So, Mr. Saul, what is your viewpoint on this?
Well, I mainly try to conform, so this doesn't apply to me.
Okay.
I'm just like everyone else.
And you're full of shit too. All right. So let's go to Deborah.
Well, I mean, I don't mind being called weird because the origin of the word weird, doesn't it mean wise or having power to control destiny or something like that? So I'll take that all day long. You can call me weird as long as you want.
Uh, well, for me, I don't give a crap. I've been called everything that there is since I've been growing up. I mean, I've been called the devil's child. I've been called Carrot Top. I've been called so many different things growing up. I frankly don't care what you call me because I've ignored everything. So I don't give a shit. But
Well, and
I am, everybody in the world is unique, and as magical people, we are the most unique. And when people call me weird, I kind of look at them like they're weird because they're normal. So to me, normal is weird because I'm the one that actually can be able to do things and you can't. So to me, that's weird. You know? It's just
Well, and
like,
normal's relative anyway. What's normal to the spider is chaos to a fly. So what's normal anyway? Normal is a fictitious construct.
right, right. It's just like when I go on my graveyard walks, and I always do a thought for my graveyard walks in the morning that's on Instagram. And I talk to the spirits that's in the graveyard, and people look at me like I'm out of my mind. I mean, I'm sorry, I can't help it. You can't see them or hear them. It's not my fault. I can't help that, you know? So
I
anyway,
have actually had to deal with this much more personally recently. A friend told me that uh, working with me on some stuff that he'd had people basically tell him outright that he shouldn't be dealing with me because of reasons, and it was it was not really what I wanted to hear, and what it showed me is that, well, I thought about it pretty deeply for a couple of days as to what I needed to do with this information. And my friend just basically said, you know, fuck him. If I thought you were a problem, I wouldn't be dealing with you. But I'm with you, and that's cool. But it also made me realize that my my circumstances have changed, my goals have changed, my outlook has changed, and not everybody has been with me for that journey, and they're looking at things through their own lens because that's all they got. And I'm not the idiot whisperer. I can't fix their perception of things and drag them through the journey that I've been through. And sometimes you end up just having to change your tribe. And it's not personal. It's not personal at all. Which, even though it feels really personal because it's about you and everything that matters to you and everything that you're doing. And yet when you evolve, when you go through certain thresholds, you do have to leave behind what was on the other side of that, and go find the other stuff. And you can't be angry about the people that can't come with you on that journey. So this to me talks about all of that. Is we want to belong. I think that's a basic human need, is to belong in some way. And it can be very demoralizing when people go, not you, not you. But we gotta remix our circumstances at that point. So kind of relevant, you know.
Well, it's not about you, it's about them because they can be jealous of you because you're growing and they're not growing. They're staying the same and they want you to stay the same. So they're jealous. That's the problem because you're growing and you're changing and you're developing into a better person and they're not.
Well, I got some of that stuff when I was a kid. Oh, the other kids are just jealous. No, they weren't. Uh, they were
Usually in a way.
assholes, but they weren't jealous. And I think I've just sort of remixed that. It doesn't matter what they are; that they're irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even have to judge their emotional state. I just have to quit letting them be fuel for things.
Right. And you got to quit them take up residency in your head too.
Yep.
Cool. All right. So Debra has wrote a whole book letting us know how we can control the weather. So how can we make it not so hot?
Well, it's not just about weather control. That's that's part of it. But I think maybe making it not so hot has more to do with how we're treating the planet than magic, to be quite honest. But part of it is about, we all people think weather magic is something that it is elusive and is unusual and exotic, but we've all done it, right? We've all wished that it wouldn't rain when there's an outdoor event we want to go to, or we wish it wasn't so hot, or y'all are probably of the generation that we all sat in front of the TV screen if you lived in an area where you might have gotten a snow day and you watched that little ribbon across the bottom of the screen and hoped for your school to show up, with your fingers crossed going, come on, snow day. So we all do weather magic, whether we realize it or not. Part of and when we think about weather magic, what we think about is how do we keep it from raining? How do we make it rain? Or maybe protection magic, to protect your home if you're in an area that's, say, prone to hurricanes. Or, living here where I do, we get tornadoes and severe thunderstorms pretty frequently. So part of it is that, but also part of it is about looking at weather as a source of energy for any energy work that you might do, whether you're a practitioner of magic or you do Reiki or any kind of energy work. Weather is a tremendous storehouse of energy. And so why not tap into it in that way? Because I like to say that energy is agnostic. It doesn't care where it came from. It just is. And so it doesn't care if it comes from, magical creativity or if it comes from, ice freezing from liquid water in a cloud. It's still energy, and that's energy that's accessible for us to use should we choose to. So yeah, that's how do we make it not so hot? I think that's less of a magical endeavor and more of a let's treat this planet a little bit better. But how do we use the energy on a hot day to maybe manifest some sort of magical intention? Well, you can read about that in there too. So
And it's interesting when you talk about things like climate change, that we have this idea that magic is like it is on the cartoons, right? There's a little glowy thing and a sound effect, and whatever we want instantly happens. And and magic doesn't change the laws of the universe. It works in harmony with it.
right.
And some things you do are like scuba diving. Middle of scuba diving, you want to make a change, you surface, you have a Mai Tai, you're done for the day, right? Some things are like spelunking. If you're cave exploring and partway through it you decide you want to change, well, you're only partway done because you can't just rise up through the stone. You got to move forward, you got to move back, and you have to work within how things function. even though your will nudges it, your will affects it, you can't just change it.
Right. Well, if it were that easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah.
Right. If it were that easy, I could snap my fingers and manifest a winning lottery ticket or a job or whatever. Everybody would do it. So it's that whole, I think it was Benjamin Franklin that said fortune favors the prepared mind. You know, that's one thing I like about the path I'm on is it's a proactive thing. You know, you ask the universe to open doors for you, but you don't ask the universe to do the work for you. And you sure as heck don't expect instant gratification. You know, anything that usually the things that I work toward are things that take time. And so, you know, it's to me, magic, if it were, like I said, if it were instant gratification, everybody'd be doing it. And that's one thing that you got to learn that it's not like that. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes people make when they first kind of start exploring this path is they think, ooh, if I just light this candle and say these words, then tomorrow everything's going to be all fixed, or later today, or after lunch. That's not how you find out pretty quickly. That's not the way that works.
So I like the idea that you mentioned about tapping into weather as energy. I mean, that's like global energy, universe energy. And I think we immediately in our heads picture this idea of the thunderstorm and out there raising the energy out of the thunderstorm. But, you know, especially in Texas right now, we don't get quite so much thunderstorm. And there's every season, every day, every moment of weather has some kind of energy in it. So how do we tap into that weather energy and different kinds of weather energy?
Well, I feel like you can tap into whatever weather is available globally because we're all connected by the atmosphere, right? There's a great program or a great video called We Are All Connected by Symphony of Science. And it talks about how we're connected to each other biologically and to the earth chemically and the rest of the universe atomically. So you can access thunderstorm energy, even if you're in a place where there's not one happening, because we're all connected by this ocean of air that's over us in the form of the atmosphere. So why not? I mean, I don't live in a place where there's hurricanes frequently, although we did get a Category 1 hurricane come across us a year or so ago. So that may be changing. But I think that you can still tap into that because like when I do Reiki, I'm tapping into the universal energy of Reiki and it doesn't live down the street. So I can still access it though, even though it's the universal energy because I'm connected to that. So I think you can still access whatever weather type you want to do working. I just think that if it's close to you, it's probably a little bit more effective or maybe more amplified, but you can still access whatever energy is available out there.
Like day drinking, it's always stormy somewhere.
That's right. That's right.
Right. And with that, we are going to take a short break. And we're going to listen to our wonderful sponsors. And we will be back with Witch Hat Chats. Stay tuned. Anybody can tell you what is on a tarot or oracle card. What matters is seeing beyond what others may not be able to see and help the client to uncover what lies in the mist. What do readings from Moonlight Potions and Charms do? Wednesday, I did this ancestor reading, and it was an amazing reading. And it was a detailed reading. And I remember talking to this customer's ancestors, and it was so delightful. And he wanted some questions to be answered about the magic in his family because he didn't know. And his family was mostly like most of our families are. You know how everything is like hush hush when it comes to the magic in his family. And he wanted to know who can he actually talk to about the history of the magic in his family. and I was able to give him specifically who he can go to talk to about that, what particular deity he can actually go to be able to help him with this. And it was just an amazing reading, and talking to his ancestors, they were such a delight, and they told me so much about this customer. It was just an absolutely wonderful reading for him, and I was just so happy to be able to give him this wonderful reading. It's really amazing to be able to give people these readings, these products that's really going to help them, and be able to give back to the community, because this is what Moonlight Potions and Charms is about. We want to help you to embrace the power of your own magic. That is what we are all about. It's to help you to do that. Book now and allow our wonderful staff to take care of your spiritual reading needs. And there is so much more in our Wicked store to help you to embrace the power of your own magic. So come on in to Moonlight Potions and Charms at www.moonlightpotionscharms.com and discover the wicked things that ignite the magical passion in you. Have you heard? The King of the Crossroads, Papa Legba, has graciously opened the roads, paving the way for the Papa Legba Altar on the Go to be nominated as Outstanding Product of the Year in the 2024 Witchcraft and Occult Media Awards. Makes Papa Legba Altar on the Go stand out? Complete traveling altar kits. Everything you need for sacred space is right at your fingertips, all neatly arranged in a mystical painter's pail. And it's compact and convenient. A perfect, powerful temporary altar, whether you're a modern nomad, a military soul on the move, or a wanderlust-stricken traveler. It also has additional space for the personal touch. As customization is a key to your spiritual journey, the Papa Legba Altar on the Go leaves room for you to infuse your unique energy. Moonlight Potions and Charms and Papa Legba invites you to join the spellbinding spectacle at the 2024 Witchcraft and Occult Media Awards. Cast your vote for the Papa Legba on the Go as the Outstanding Product of the Year. Your support fuels the magic. Go to https://rb.gy/PC3F11 to cast your vote. Remember, your altar is not just a space, it's a step in your magical journey. Explore the depths of your inner self by visiting Moonlight Potions and Charms at mpcmagic.com. Be ready to embrace the power of your own magic. Have you wondered what spirituality is? Spirituality is limitless, as it does not contain any boundaries on beliefs or practices. Spirituality's most important component is personal experience and allows one to explore it freely. Evermoving We Rise is a spiritual moving tradition, as our name is our lifestyle, because we are persistently rising and moving forward. We realize that everyone's spiritual journey is extremely personal, but more easily traveled with reinforcement. We'll teach you to become friends with your shadow, emerge your authentic self, and give you time and space to develop your own spirituality. And when situations bump back, you'll have the entire community behind you, as we are a magical family who work to sustain each other. Discover the benefits of working within a society dedicated to helping you grow on your personal path. Visit us on our website, Linktree, or Facebook page and discover why we don't fit in the box.
Hey, it's Saul Ravencraft here on Witch Hat Chats. I am with Miss Nikki Kirby and with Debra Burris. Although I guess I should be calling you Professor Burris, shouldn't I?
It's fine. It's fine. Either one, I'll answer to both. Just don't call me late to dinner. That's all I worry about.
Oh, there you go. There you go. That's fair. And I suppose now you teach at university. What do you teach?
I actually am a professor of, I guess now we're called the Department of Physics, Astronomy, and Engineering. I have a PhD in astrophysics is my actual background, but I teach courses in physics, meteorology, astronomy, astrophysics, and then I teach general education, science, and I'm super interested in science communication. So being able to educate the public and to communicate to the public about scientific ideas, which is what gave me the idea really to do these talks that were the kind of the background of why I wrote the book. I think if anything, we have learned in the last few years that science literacy is important and understanding the scientific method is important. And for the average person, I think that we all had to take a science class in school, but a lot of times that whole idea of science is a living thing. It's constantly improving itself. We do the best we have with the data available, and when new data becomes available, we try to improve our understanding. I think a lot of people forget that part, and they assume that once something is settled, then that's done, and that's not true at all. We lived for 2,000 years thinking the Earth was at the center of the universe, and then Galileo comes along with a telescope and goes, excuse me, there are things going around Jupiter, so that doesn't work anymore. So no, you can't ever prove anything true. You can just prove it not false yet. And as technology advances, 150 years ago, we didn't even know about the existence of the electron, and now our entire living is centered around electricity and electronic devices. So as technology improves, the things that seem magical and mystical become understood. So science and magic, two sides of the same coin to me. And if you try to separate the two, I think you do it at your own arrogance and peril, because and that's where I get into trouble sometimes, because I'm too witchy for the science community and I'm too sciencey for some of the witchy community. And so I kind of, my lane is kind of right in the middle of going, hey, they're both valid and they can both work together. They don't have to be in opposition to each other. So that is kind of my particular fondness or lane or whatever you want to call it. That's the thing that I like to talk about, is how do those things intersect. So the current book does that. There's a lot of science background in the current book. The book I'm working on that'll be out in about a year or so is going to be the same idea. And I've got 2 or 3 others floating around up here that are going to be the same idea. So I teach all kinds of classes. And in fact, the funny thing was, when I went up for my performance evaluation this year, we were talking about the book. I mentioned it to my boss. He's like, well, you should put that in your evaluation packet for next year. And I'm like, really? He's like, yes, it's a great piece of science communication. So I'm like, okay. So I think that science communication is something that's super important. And the more that we can get the public knowledgeable about the process of science, whether it's about how vaccines are made or about climate change or about, health things or astronomy things or whatever it may be, I think the better off we'll all be.
How do you address the people that get their nose bent because you immerse yourself in base superstitions?
Well, first of all, I ask them if they play the lottery. And if they do, like, why? Because that's kind of wishing for something to happen, right? I ask them if they believe in any kind of prayer or meditation or whatever, and I'm like that. But then the final thing to me is science was made to answer certain questions, and it's also not meant to answer certain questions, right? And
Right.
so I think that the people who are very hard-lined believe that science can answer every question, and that's just simply not true. Science was made to answer a specific group of questions and help us understand the mechanics of how the world works, but it doesn't explain why we fall in love with the people we fall in love with, or, why some of us like chocolate ice cream. I guess it can explain that a little bit, but I mean, there's things that science is not meant to answer, questions of philosophy and belief. So that's not science's purview. Just like beliefs, the purview of belief is not the purview of science. Those two things kind of do answer separate questions, but they don't have to be in opposition or in competition with each other. They are allies, and that's what makes us a whole being, right? Is if we have all those things within us. So, and then if they just keep harping, then I just, tell them to kiss my butt and walk away. Because I'm not going to argue with, if I want to listen to a jackass bray, I've got a whole pasture full of them out there. I don't need to talk to them at work or wherever I'm at.
Nice.
Yeah, it's kind of like me. I've always said the difference between magic and science, that um, science is explain magic and magic's everything else.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's difference, and and when people have, asked me what they start questioning me about things, and then I say, oh, well, do you believe in affirmations? Do you meditate? Do you do prayer? These kind of things. And like, well, yeah. I said, well, that's magic. I said, how else can you explain that? I said, can you do the scientific method on prayer? Let's do the scientific method on prayer. Come on, let's do the scientific method on prayer. I like to see that. I really like to see that. Come on, let's do that. Really. And I really like to have, conversations with them on some of these things. But the thing about it is it's like you said, it's not really a competition. I don't really believe in competitions. And a lot of times I tell them, I said, let's look at electricity, for instance. People thought that electricity was magic when it first came out. They thought when you flip the switch, that was magic to them because they couldn't explain why the lights came on. They had no idea why the lights came on. When fire was first invented, they didn't know why fire was able to be created. They had no idea until somebody was able to explain it to them. So that was magic to them.
Right. Once the technology catches up, we're able to explain more and more things, right? So I think that what happens is very often people, even scientists, get so entrenched in their belief that they become brittly inflexible. I mean, and then my final one is, do you hope for things? Are there things that you hope for, that you wish for? If you're doing that, then that's not scientific. That's not a scientific process. That is a philosophical or a metaphysical process, is to hope for something, because a hope, a prayer, magic, all these things, you're trying to manifest a certain outcome. But I think, we often talk about working with things in competition. And, we talked about at the very beginning about controlling weather. When I do weather work, I very rarely try to control it in the sense that people think of, right? Because I train horses, right? I have a 1,400-pound Appaloosa gelding. I'm never going to outmuscle him, right? But I have to, if I work with him as a partner, then I get good results. The same thing with weather. Living on a farm, you really quickly learn that you are not going to master the weather. So the best you can do is work with it as a partner or an ally and work with it in that relation, right? And I think that if we practice that more in other aspects of our lives, we'd be a lot better off, right? Instead of trying to control or dominate or whatever, manipulate, maybe just work with something as an ally or a partnership. And I think that's when I do my most successful magical work. And also, I think that in life, that's when I am my most successful, is when I try to work with something or someone as an ally rather than as something that needs to be controlled or manipulated or, in that way, dominated. So.
Exactly.
But I mean, you
It's
learn really
interesting.
quickly. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, some of what you've been talking about is connects to a concept someone introduced me to, the half-life effects. That over time, pretty much everything we think we know shifts and changes. So I think about people who get entrenched on the metaphysical side in ancient lore, and this is the way it was always done. This is the way it has to be done. There is no change with these things. You just do what works, and that seems a little bit at odds with some of our other experience.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you look at that from a practice standpoint?
Okay, well, I will say this about my practice. I am an elder in the Georgian tradition of witchcraft because I did the study, because I'm an academic and I like to learn things, and doing that was great. Do I practice that every day? Absolutely not. Do I'm sitting in my altar room, right? And if you could see this, there are 3 8-foot tables loaded down with all the beautiful tools and the things, because I happen to know a lot of very talented craftspeople who make beautiful magical tools and all of that. Do I use those in my day-to-day practice? 90% of the time, that answer is no, because I'll be outside. I'm like, oh, shoot, there's a storm coming. I need to do something. So I pick up whatever stick is on the ground, or I am outside messing with my horses and I'll take some of their tail hair and tie knots in it or whatever. Because it's not about the tool, right? That's nice. And believe me, I'm your best friend at a vending event. If I like your stuff, I promise I'll make your booth rent probably for you. But when it comes right down to it, when I'm outside doing weather work, like if there's a storm coming and I want to weaken it, or I want to, protect my friends from it or whatever, I've got a storm knife. I've got it all nicely inscribed. And if I happen to be home and I think about it, I'll put that out. But if I'm outside and all I've got is a bucket and a stick, I'm going to bang on that bucket with a stick and go, not today. We're not doing this today. This ain't fucking happening right now. It's not happening. Go on. So which is more effective? I don't know. Equally effective, I think, but because on the days when I'm tired and I don't feel like sitting in my tornado hidey hole and I'm out there begging on the bucket going, not today. We're not fucking doing this. Probably that's more effective than, but I think that, you do what you need to do at the time. And that if that means you've got a beautiful tool and a beautiful wand or a rattle or a whatever, and I make magical tools. I'm not telling you not to buy them because I would love to sell all my stuff when I go to a show. But at the end of the day, my magic comes in from here. It don't have nothing to do with what's in my hand or what I've got mixed all together in a bowl or all of that. It's about what I'm putting out through here. but that doesn't mean I don't like the pretties, because I sure do. I mean, it's, and sometimes it's nice to do the fancy pants stuff, right? It's nice to get all, it's kind of like sometimes it's nice to dress up and go out and have a fancy meal. It's nice to use the fancy magical tools, but needs must when the devil drives, as they said on Old Gods of Appalachia the other day. You got to do what you got to do, right? And so my personal practice is very much, I call it, dirt grubbing mountain witch. Whatever is going on and it's closest thing that I can grab, that's what I use, right? If it happens to be a stick. Now, if I can find a willow branch and I want it to rain, great. If I can find a tree that I know likes water's branch and I want it to rain and I want to use that for whatever, then I'll use that. But if I'm out here in my front yard and the closest thing I've got is a white oak branch that fell off this tree right out here, that's what I'm using, because I'm going to do it when the mood strikes, right? Or when the spirit moves, as they say. I don't know, but that's kind of my philosophy on that. I hope that answered your question. I think it.
That's pretty much what I do. But I don't pick up a stick. I said, to hell with the stick. We're just going to use the finger here. Okay.
Well, sometimes I do that too. It just depends on what mood I'm in. But I mean, even the storm knife, and this was the thing that always was interesting to me. My grandmother was not on this path that I'm on at all. That was not her thing. She was a very traditional, Southern white lady in her way of thinking. But when it stormed, she had a knife that she went out and stuck in the ground. So I'm like, okay. So, I think that growing up in the mountains like I have in the foothills of the Ozarks, there are traditions that have been passed down for years. And a lot of people don't know why they do them. That's just the thing that we do on this, in these certain times. And they don't ask a whole lot of questions about why,
Nope, they don't.
Well, it's like planting by the signs or using the signs. Like all the folk around here, they plant by the signs. They do everything by the signs. And even my veterinarian, when it would come time to, cut my colts, to geld my colts, she would be, we need to check the signs before we do it, because you want them to be in the feet and the legs. The medical astrology, you want them to be in the signs to be in the feet and the legs. And people are like, well, does that matter? And I said, I don't know that it does matter, and I don't know why it works. But I know the one time I saw a colt cut that was not by the right signs, that colt had a lot of bleeding issues and had a lot of healing issues. So one data point was all it took to convince me, because every time I've followed the signs and done it, my colts have been fine. I wean my babies, my foals, by the signs, right? The one time I didn't do it, I had one just go completely ballistic, jump out of the pasture, act a fool, all the other. And then a week later, the signs were right. I pulled him back in and he was fine. So what's the scientific evidence for that? I don't know. But I know the empirical evidence is all it took for me to go, this is what we're doing from now on. This is the way it's happening. So... And my grandpa did that when he planted his garden. He planted, root crops in a certain sign, and corn or tomatoes or whatever in a certain sign. And so I don't know if I do that because he did it and it's nice to feel like I'm connecting to his spirit when I do that, or if I'm connecting to the earth spirit or whatever. But I think that is something that a lot of people do. So they're practicing medical astrology, whether they realize it or not.
All right. And so where can our people find you?
Okay, so you can find me. I'm on Facebook. It's just Debra Burris, but you can also find my author page on Facebook, Debra Burris, teacher, author, witch, I think is the way it is. My bone art business can be found on Facebook under Stories of the Bones. You can follow me on Instagram and on TikTok as Doc Firewoman. And so you can find me there. I will be presenting. My next appearance for presenting will be in Northwest Arkansas in a town called Fayetteville at a shop called Soot and Sage. I'll be there coming up the first weekend of July. Then I will be at Mystic South the end of July. I will be at Nashville Pagan Pride in October. And in the meantime, in between time, I will be at the Enchanted Metaphysics and Mystics Market, which is one of my home events. It will be in Fayetteville, Arkansas also. And I will be at my true home event where I go and I camp and I have the obnoxiously brightly colored camp, and I'm the auntie to all the little witchlings that come and follow them around with sunscreen. That will be Labor Day weekend at Hidden Acres Farm in London, Arkansas. It's a 3-day event. It's called the Lunar Harvest Festival. And if you want a great place to go that's not super expensive, but will have cool vendors and great classes and great music, you should come out to the Lunar Harvest event. It is definitely worth traveling a little ways for too. Now, I will warn you, it may be hotter than hell in Arkansas on Labor Day weekend, or it could be like last year when we were freezing our butts off at night. So who knows? It's like the lottery. It's the weather lottery. But we will have a great time no matter what. I will be out there teaching and vending, and I am doing the opening ritual on Friday, and that one will be with all the fancy tools and the high hooty fancy stuff, because sometimes you got to do that. So
Nice.
that's where I'm at.
Right.
You can find me on the socials. Friend request me, come up to me at events and say hi. You know, I'm pretty personable most of the time.
Well, thank you, Debra.
Thank you. This is fun.
All right, it's all for our show today. So remember to embrace your power, support your community, and keep your fuzzy babies, your family and friends, and yourself safe, and have an absolute magical week.
I know some people who like to chat. I think they're witches, how about that? And every Sunday at 12 o'clock. And if you're hurting, they're willing to talk. Nikki Curia with that black stone. I agree, Evermoving We Rise. Life and soul with a beautiful mind. I give you blessings under moonlight. I know some people who like to chat. I think they're witches, how about that? And every Sunday at 12 o'clock.